As you modernize your stack, our exciting GA announcement of RedisJSON 2.0, a real-time document store with native indexing, querying, and a full text search capabilities, is a game changer, and in a short amount of time, thanks to all of you, has become the most popular Redis module in the number of container pulls and the number of cloud databases created. In fact, RedisJSON is 12 times faster than MongoDB in a combined latency and throughput benchmarks. In a mixed workload, RedisJSON enables 50 times more throughput than MongoDB and 7 times more than Elasticsearch. It supports all the traditional content catalog and profile management use cases supported by a document store. Let's keep going with the rest of the show and welcome Pieter Cailliau, Director of Product Management, and Ash Sahu, Senior Director of Product Marketing, our very own Redis experts, who are going to show you how to harness the sub-millisecond speed of RedisJSON to architect high-performance applications for real-time document store use cases.
Well, hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about how to accelerate your apps with the real-time JSON document store from Redis. Well, my name is Ash and I'm the Senior Director of Product Marketing at Redis. And joining me is Pieter Cailliau, my counterpart and Director of Product Management here. As Ofer Bengal, our CEO and co-founder, mentioned during the keynote, we're really happy to announce the general availability of RedisJSON 2.0. So in this session, we'll give you an overview of RedisJSON, talk about the key capabilities of the platform, usage patterns in use cases, and Pieter will go over what's new in RedisJSON 2.0 and how to get started. So let's dive right in. Well, as you know, different types and shapes of data are needed to power the modern enterprise in a digital-first world. Data helps you identify new signals to drive business value. It helps you to revolutionize customer experiences. Finally, it enables new business models, products, and services. Unfortunately, rigid schemas and slow disk-based document stores can limit your agility and innovation. You need a fast, flexible database that can help you keep pace with the breakneck speed of business. Fast to give you that consumer-grade experience, and flexible so it can keep up with the rapidly changing business, market, and customers. Well, document stores have grown in popularity mainly because they support this flexibility of dynamic schemas that can store and query polymorphic data. That's why we created RedisJSON. Now, RedisJSON is a powerful in-memory document store that supports atomic operations. It has native indexing, querying, and full text capabilities. Finally, it's enterprise ready with flexible deployment options, whether it's on-premise or as a managed service in the cloud. Let's dive into each of these capabilities now. Now, RedisJSON is based on ECMA 404 standard for JSON. You can perform atomic operations on sub-elements in memory, and you can use Jsonpath for selecting fields within a document. Needless to say, everything is running at the millisecond speed of Redis. As mentioned earlier, RedisJSON comes with Redis Search behind the scenes. Redis Search allows you to create synchronous indexes so you can read your own writes. In addition to that, comes with a powerful set of capabilities such as you can filter by properties, numeric ranges, and geographical distance. You can perform complex aggregations using map, reduce, sort, and filter. And then you can run full text indexing, stemming, based query expansion, multiple languages. Now, let's talk a little bit about what you can get with the enterprise ready features, whether it's in the cloud or as a software. For your production needs, you can scale out your Redis by sharding a database using Redis clusters. In fact, some of the benchmarks show we get as many as 200 million operations per second with just a 40-node cluster. Well, that's close to linear scaling while still maintaining that latency under 1 millisecond. Pretty powerful. Another Redis enterprise capability is active Redis JSON. Now, what is active Redis JSON? Well, it gives you 5 nines uptime guaranteed. Well, in other words, your application will continue to operate even in the case of cloud or a region outage. Furthermore, even if your replicas get disconnected with each other, Redis will continue to operate, and your writes will converge to the same values once the replicas are recovered, completely in a seamless manner. The other thing you get with active is that it lets you deploy a distributed, replicated Redis globally across cloud and hybrid environments, while permitting local speed of reads and writes. This is why active is really loved by our customers. Now I want to talk to you about some of the common usage patterns that we see across customers and community users. On the left, you will see our users are deploying Redis JSON as a query accelerator for your existing relational and document databases. For instance, you can create a materialized view with your frequently accessed data and accelerate it using Redis JSON. Now, to bring your data Redis JSON, you can either write your own custom code, or you can soon be able to use our CDC product, which is Redis Connect, that does it seamlessly and in a consistent manner. In the middle is where Redis JSON can be used as a front-end database. Well, in this scenario, you can do all your read and write operations on Redis, while Redis uses the right behind mechanism to update the backend database or data lake systems. And finally, on the right, well, this is where you can use Redis JSON as your primary database for all your real-time document store needs. Let's talk a little bit about RedisJSON use cases. Well, firstly, RedisJSON supports all your traditional document store use cases of content, catalog, and profile management. Now, there are some real-time and near real-time use cases where RedisJSON can really shine. First one is in retail. You can use it for real-time inventory management, where JSON can be used to store the entire product catalog. For fraud detection, you can store your user, merchant, and location profiles in JSON. For online gaming, JSON can be used to store avatar and gamer profiles. For digital mobility, you can match your driver and rider profiles using data stored in JSON. And finally, in the case of cybersecurity, RedisJSON can be used for device profiles and status for your endpoint security protection systems. This is some of the few real-time capabilities where RedisJSON can be used. But there's a lot more which are being used by a community or can be used for future purposes as well. I want to talk a little bit about the client support for RedisJSON. Well, let's see, right at the bottom, you see that the new capability of document store in Redis is fully supported by a leading Redis client such as Node-RED in JavaScript, RedisPy in Python, Redis for Java, and Stack Exchange or Redis for C#. We're also recently released our new object mapping libraries, which allow you to develop and build your application with RedisJSON using Node.js, Django, Spring, and ASP.NET. Well, it is really easy to get started with RedisJSON and Redis Enterprise Cloud. You can go to redis.com, sign up for our cloud service, and create a free database in less than 10 seconds. The first paid tier is very attractive, $7 per month. Now, Redis Cloud is based on a serverless architecture, which means that you don't need to select cloud instances or build a cluster. All you have to do is set the memory and throughput requirements, and then everything is managed in a fully automated manner. That includes scaling up, scaling down, and instant failover. Finally, I want to talk about TCO. Now, Redis can easily perform over 25,000 operations per second on a single core. That makes it one of the most powerful databases in the market right now. Now, in case of large datasets, Redis on flash technology allows Redis to extend DRAM with SSD, which makes Redis Enterprise a very attractive proposition compared to in-memory and as well as disk-based solutions in the market. Now, in case of small datasets, you can use a built-in multi-tenant technology to deploy multiple databases or cache on a singular machine at very attractive prices. Well, this brings me to the end of my presentation. Let me hand it over to Pieter, Director of Product Management for Developer Capabilities at Redis. And he's going to talk to you more about what's new with RedisJSON 2.0. So, over to you, Pieter.
Thank you, Ash. My name is Pieter Cailliau, and I will walk you through what is new in RedisJSON 2.0. First off, I would like to mention that RedisJSON was rewritten in Rust to provide higher performance, but also more stability and lower memory footprint. In this talk, I will show you how you can use Jsonpath syntax for selecting fields, but also do in-place updates into your documents. I will also show you how you can leverage Redis Search to index and run full-text search queries on top of your documents. Lastly, I would like to mention that we enhanced the developer experience when using RedisJSON. There is now a single Docker image available for both modules that contains both modules. In addition to low-level clients, we also have high-level client drivers that add object mapping for you, as Ash already mentioned. Lastly, there are also onboarding guides available in Redis Insight, a developer GUI for building applications with Redis. I encourage you to go and try it out. But first, let's take a step back. Why would you choose RedisJSON over native Redis data structures? You can already persist JSON documents in strings. However, to Redis strings. However, you will have to serialize and deserialize the entire string every single time. Secondly, you can't do any granular updates. So you can't append an object to an array, or you can't increment a numeric value within the document without replacing the entire document. And lastly, for concurrency reasons. So when you're updating your document, you would first have to fetch it client-side, deserialize it, update it, serialize and write it back. And meanwhile, there might be another concurrent service that has updated your document and you have to restart this entire process. You could also use hashes. However, hashes, they don't support fully nested data. They can only nest up to a level of 1. And this will add complexity to the client side, which will have to take your JSON document and translate it into a hash and back. However, there is some increased concurrency. So this is what RedisJSON actually adds. You can nest data without any limits. You can store complex objects, and you can also retain the object structures and data types. On the right-hand side, we have an example of a document that is set into our database, which we will leverage and use for further explaining the features of RedisJSON. So there's a profile of a user who has some achievements, but Alice also has some hobbies, hiking and reading. She has 2 friends and she has a score of 5. Let's look at in-place updates. We'll show that we can use Jsonpath syntax, that it's type aware, and there is no need to fetch the entire object. The first example, we're increasing the score from 5 to 100. And we're doing this by using the command numincrby. And then we use the $.score Jsonpath syntax to indicate which field within the document we would like to increment. Another example is that we would like to change the name from Alice to Sue. We're using now the JSON set command, and the JSON syntax, the Jsonpath syntax is now $.profile.name. Lastly, we would like to add a friend. So Sue now made a friend, and we would like to use the command array insert to add user 3 as a first element into her friend's array. Once again, we didn't need to retrieve any data client-side. This is just an in-place atomic update. Next up, let's look at atomic reads. So we will show you, again, you can leverage Jsonpath syntax. You only need to retrieve the data you actually need, and you can gain the speed of memory locality because everything is within a single key. So in this first example, we're just retrieving the entire document. However, if we're not interested in the entire document, but for example, only into the score, we can leverage the Jsonpath syntax. Here in this case, we're using $.score to just retrieve the score. Another example could be to get the ID of the first element of the achievements array. In this case, this is 2. Once again, I want to mention that we didn't have to retrieve the entire document client-side. We just retrieved the subset of the data. Now let's look what Redis Search can add on top of that. Redis Search allows you now to create an index and query existing documents. You can also add aliases to fields, which we will declare using Jsonpath syntax. And it's important to mention that we will always query our own rights. This is a fairly unique characteristic for a document database. On the right-hand side, we see that we're creating an index called IDX, and in the schema contains 2 fields. The first one is a profile name, which will give an alias name, and which will index as a full text search field. The second field that will index is all the hobbies. We'll give it also an alias hobbies, and we'll index that as a tag. A tag is a lightweight text field index that is suitable for exact matches, but also for prefix matches. Under the hood, there is a trie data structure. So now we have a full text search index. We can also search for fuzzy. We can do a fuzzy search. And in this example, we're searching for alos, which is surrounded by 2 percent signs. That is part of the name field, but also that person that we're looking for should also have at least the hobby of reading. And we're getting, of course, user 1 back. There are many more features that we can do with full text search. As Ash mentioned before, this is just the tip of the iceberg, the fuzzy search. Next up, I want to show you that you can also do projection. What if we find our documents back, but we would only like to retrieve a subpart of the document for efficiency reasons. So in this case, we're finding our documents in our corpus of documents. We're only returning the first element of the hobbies array as the first hobby, which turns out to be hiking. And the last thing I would like to mention is that we also have aggregation support. So we can query the entire corpus of documents and do pipes and filters aggregation, types of style aggregation across the corpus of documents. In this example, we're trying to find the maximum score of all users within our database. So I hope to have shown you with these 3 sets, the in-place updates, the atomic reads, and the full text search capabilities provided by Redis Search, a good overview of what is available in RedisJSON 2.0. With this, we also created a benchmark. The first thing on the left-hand side that I would like to discuss, or which is published in this benchmark, is that when we look at isolated reads, writes, and updates, then RedisJSON outperforms both MongoDB and Elasticsearch. Moreover, when we look at reads only, RedisJSON is up to 12.7 times faster than MongoDB in combined latency and throughput benchmarks. However, no database only serves reads, writes, or updates. So we also did a mixed workload benchmark. What you see here is on the x-axis, we increased the number of updates by 10%. And there is a mixed workload of 0% updates, 65% searches, and 35% reads. And on each step on the x-axis, we increase the number of updates by 10%, and we reduce the number of searches by 5% and the number of reads by 5%. And what we can see actually is that the red line, which represents RedisJSON, goes up. The throughput goes up for the more writes we do on top of our database, while the throughput of Elasticsearch goes down. And this is very important because this proves that RedisJSON is a scalable solution for production database purposes. Moreover, in mixed workloads, we observed that RedisJSON enables up to 50 times more throughput than MongoDB and 7 times more than Elasticsearch for our specific benchmark. You can read more about this benchmark on the link below on our website, redis.com. Just to summarize, RedisJSON allows you to modernize legacy applications. You can unlock data by running search analytics at scale, and you can deliver modern applications with interactive customer experiences. How to get started? You can get started with RedisJSON in our cloud. You can create even a free database in Redis Enterprise Cloud. You can also get started with RedisJSON with Redis Enterprise. RedisJSON itself is available under the Redis Source Available license. There's a Docker image, which you can pull from Docker Hub, and you can also find the Redis object mapping libraries on the links below. The documentation of RedisJSON and Redis Search resides on redisjson.io and redissearch.io. And with this, I would like to thank you for listening to our talk, and I hope you can get started with RedisJSON 2.0 very soon.
Thank you, Pieter and Ash. Redisify demo was the highlight for me, as it demonstrates how RedisJSON allows you to overcome modernization challenges and quickly build real-time apps with RedisJSON.